there, chipmunks! Welcome to the AMP Cycling Ride Review Series. I'm your host, Angry Chipmunk, and today we're in Belgium for another one of the Challenge family rides. This is the Geraardsbergen 40km. This route is available on Rouvy, so let's get right to it. This is a moderate length route at just under 38 kilometers long, with a low to moderate amount of elevation gain at 446 meters. The whole ride averages just 1%, but will peak at 13%. There are 3 Strava segments included on Rouvy, with 7 total on Strava itself. There are only the 3 segments in reality, as 4 of them are just different versions of the same climb. 4 of the segments were hidden on PC, so you may not see them on the app. Before you do get to the first segment or do anything in the route really, you're climbing a hill out of the city. It starts at about the 345 meter mark, is only about 420 meters long, but will peak at 8%. It does ramp up as it goes, with quite a bit before the summit being in that 7% plus range. From there to the first segment is much more mild, with a few gentle ups and downs that don't exceed 4%. The first Strava segment is Geraardsbergen Hill. It's at the 7.8 kilometer mark, is 1.3 kilometers long, with 66 meters of elevation gain, averaging 5% and peaking at 10%. For me, this segment was hidden on PC, and Strava instead showed the full gas version of the same thing. This is a classic sandwich climb, with the start and end being more difficult. The start sees a bit of 7 to 8% before the middle backs it off down to 4 to 5%, before once again ramping back up to the 7 to 9%. The road leading into this segment is a nice bit of flat downhill, so really try to bring as much speed as possible into this one to help launch up it. I chose to sit and spin this one, but with the terrain before and after being very friendly, it's definitely one that's good to push up pretty hard. There's a nice extended bit of flat and downhill after, so plenty of time to cool down. Before the second segment, there's a few small hills and a lot of flat. Most of the inclines aren't too much to worry about, with gradients maxing out around 5%. There's one small pinch out of a small village that is pretty rough. You come around a corner from a nice mild gradient to 11 to 13% pretty quickly, and then just like that it's done. Really watch for this one on the course profile, or you'll get caught out in completely the wrong gear. I was traveling along doing about 25 kph and almost instantaneously dropped down to 7 kph. The second segment is Geraardsbergen Hill. It's at the 21.48 kilometer mark, is 1.73 kilometers long, with 24 meters of elevation gain, averaging 1.4% and peaking at 5%. This, despite its mild appearance, is also a sandwich climb. The great thing about this climb is the start is the more difficult part, and the middle has a nice negative gradient you can use to launch up the rest of the climb. It's not a hard one at all, and coming from the mild before it, it's pretty easy to push along if you're so inclined. There is again a nice bit of mellow following it where you can cool down if needed. The final segment is Oudberg Hill. It's at the 36.6 kilometer mark, and it's 1.07 kilometers long. This particular segment doesn't show up on my Strava at all. There are 4 segments for this climb, but none of them are what is actually on Rouvy. The most similar is Muur van Geraardsbergen. It's 1.05 kilometers long, with 92 meters of elevation gain, averaging 8.6% and peaking at 12%. Strava considers this to be a Cap 4 climb. This one starts kind of mellow and ramps up in the second half. I found that by the time I got there, I was just pretty tired and had to spin it pretty easily. There's not much tricky about it since it's so short, but if you're going to push up hard, watch the course profile for when it starts to steepen again, or try to launch hard at the start with the favorable lead up and give yourself plenty of time to back off when it gets steep. I'm not sure why my Strava doesn't show this particular segment at all. Perhaps it has changed between when I rode the course and now. I'm not sure. There's a very, very short 240-meter downhill to the finish, and that's it. For this ride, you'll be needing a very good warm-up and cool-down, with a surprisingly steep hill just after the start and the end finishing with that 12%. There's no place in the route to do either one. I would suggest 10 minutes on either side of this one at the very least. And as always, I recommend pre-fueling your rides and including plenty of protein with that. At nearly 40 kilometers, you'll also be wanting to refuel during this ride. It's not so tough that you'll be wanting heaps to eat, just a top-up. Anywhere in the middle of the route is pretty mellow and good for snacking. I'd say to go for 10 to 15 grams somewhere along the flat. The climbs aren't such that you really need something faster acting for them, so I would just stick to a bar or something like that. And at this distance and elevation gain, I would definitely follow this one up with a protein of some sort and magnesium. The view on this ride is amazing. The weather isn't 100% perfect looking, and there's several spots with really dark clouds in the sky. This is actually so cool. You get that impending storm look without any of the worry that you'll be caught out in it. The rest of the time, there's big fluffy clouds and bright blue sky. There's plenty of roadside sheep and cows, which is also always a plus. The roads are a mix of one-lane tight squeezes meandering through small villages and cobbles at the end. In the villages, there's plenty to look out for too, like Leffe and Duval on tap and an Obelix-themed restaurant and, for some reason, I said a gingerbread church. I'm not really sure which church this is, but if any of you chipmunks out there figure it out, please let me know. I was pretty slow on this one, and I finished it in just over 1.5 hours on 100% difficulty emulation. With needing a good warm-up and cool down here, I would suggest to budget anywhere from a bit over an hour if you're pretty quick to an hour 45 minutes or so. It's not really suitable for those with time constraints. However, due to the many sections of flat in this route, you could definitely pause it and pick it up again at a later date. Overall, this is a fantastic route that I would definitely recommend for the intermediate level rider and up. The distance isn't such a problem here, but maintaining your energy expenditure for all the hills can be a little bit tricky. It's a good medium elevation route if you're wanting to push your elevation gains. And I would recommend pre-downloading this one as well. I managed to outrun my buffering several times near the end, which is always really annoying and breaks the flow of the ride. For this route, I give a 5 out of 5. Super chill route. Really good mix of road types, villages versus countryside, and hills versus flat. There's quite a bit of traffic in this one, but it somehow isn't a massive detractor like traffic usually is. For the view, 5 of 5. Again, everything here is great to look at. I enjoyed the mix of countryside and village, plus there's plenty of animals to watch out for enjoying their day. The weather was a huge plus on this one. It's easier to enjoy the storm when there's no fear of getting wet. For the climbs, 1 out of 5, 0.5 out of 5, and 2.5 out of 5. The first and second climbs are none too difficult. The first has pretty fresh legs despite its higher gradients. The last one is where I came unstuck. Just the steepness at the end of the route made it pretty tough in such a short space. It's like some of the other Belgian routes where the hills really catch you out. And overall, 5 of 5. Definitely put this one in your ride queue. It's a great offering from the Challenge family of rides and fits the moderate everything that they've got going on. Great choice if you want to challenge, but still want to function later on in the day. Well, that's it for this review, so thanks for watching, chipmunks. Let me know what you think of the Geraardsbergen route when you complete it. I'll leave you to finish the rest of the ride, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks for another review. Until then, ride on, chipmunks. Ride on.